Hello, this is Douglas Robinson, and in this video, we're going to be showing off an update to our Cortex data migration process. This is something that we're referring to as two different pieces of functionality that we have added to any grid within Cortex where you're looking at Cherwell related data. So I think we're at the end of March. Soon, you're going to be seeing us start posting on our social media, on our YouTube page, on LinkedIn, that Cortex 2.0 is coming out. So when we talk about Cortex now, there's actually going to be multiple different components to it. One of them is going to be what we're working on with email monitoring. There's also what we're doing with Cherwell. There is a component for Cortex for a couple of other systems that we won't be talking about in this video, but there's many different things that are going to be happening with Cortex. And one of them is if you have Cortex for Cherwell, you'll be able to use Cortex to move data out of your Cherwell system and send it to some other system. And for that, we have two different options. Now, about a month ago, we released an early preview into what we were doing for this. We had a video up on our YouTube channel. Um, you might, if you're watching this, you may be one of the 25 lucky people who watched that video. If you're not, oh well, it's better now. Uh, so what we've done in the time since then, that original video was for this little actions button right here. In the time since then, we've also added this export data button, and I'll be going over the two different ways that these kind of accomplish the same goal. So if you click on actions here, you get a pop-up to select a Cortex action. Now, a Cortex action is going to be one of potentially many different saved actions. If you're familiar with Cherwell, these would be analogous, but not nearly as complex as one steps in Cherwell. Maybe one day, but not today. These actions are basically a series of different steps that you can perform against the items that you have in front of you. So right now, this is records in Cherwell. For any of the other systems that we're able to connect Cortex to, and at some point in the future, I believe there will be functionality where you can have some tables within Cortex itself for basically any data set that you'll be able to use Cortex against, you will eventually be able to run Cortex actions against them. So right now, what's releasing as part of Cortex 2.0 for this functionality is going to be the ability to run Cortex actions. I almost said to run Cortex against the records that you have here in a Cherwell search or basically a Cherwell search, whether it's ad hoc, safe search. I was about to say any BizOb grid, any business object grid, but that's not technically true. You can't run them against like related items if you're looking at a form and have items in a relationship. Anyways, on this list or on this screen here where you've got steps, we have multiple different steps for what we're going to do with our action. I know that sounds silly that I just explained that out, but ignore that. So we have multiple different steps, and these steps can create a business object. They can log output to the results window that we're going to see a little bit later, show a pop-up. This one you're probably only going to use when you are troubleshooting this and making sure that your script actually runs properly. You can write data to a variable. You can get content from a file. You can write content to a file. That's basically it for right now. We are adding new actions to this list, and some of these actions also have been created as items that you can run under email monitoring whenever an email comes in, and there's some actions that I believe exist over there that don't exist here and vice versa. But anyways, the main one that we're going to be looking at today is creating a business object, right? So if I want to create a business object, we give it a name. We have the option to only run this particular action based on a condition. And then we have the fields that we want to fill out for creating a business object. So if I select an external system like Halo, because we have a section where you can connect to external systems and define them as data sources. I've got one for my Halo system. On that, it returns a list of what we're calling business objects. Within Halo, these would be your different types of ticket types. And for that, we have a list of fields to fill out. And when we fill out those fields, for example, if I go and look at this one right here, we have different field values getting filled in for the team, the summary, the details category, impact and urgency, so on and so forth. Once I've filled that out, and I save this and I run it, I can create a series of tickets within Halo. So for instance, if I click run right here, it's going to give me a warning because I'm running this against a large number of records. Actually, I just realized I don't want to run that against all 80 because that will take a while. So we have a way to limit that and just do 2. So if I run this against my 2 records, we'll see what we get. We have this little progress bar that tells us how we're doing, assuming, if this runs against 80 records or 100 records or 1,000 records. It's going to take a little while depending on how fast the API is. And after it's done, you'll see this progress window with log messages for what's going on. So you'll see if you've got an update a variable action, it'll say we updated this variable with this value. If it creates a ticket in Halo, you'll get back the ticket ID. You'll also see the JSON content that was used to create that ticket, and so on and so forth. And if I go look in Halo, I can see these tickets got created. So that is kind of already content that we covered in our old video. So I'm sorry for wasting your time if you already watched it as part of the old video. The other thing I wanted to go over that's newer is this export data button. So if I click on this, this is intended as a single step action to export data from Cherwell into Halo. So what we've got under that action screen, when you're editing an action, for one thing, you can have many different actions. And when you're editing it, you've got different spots where you can manipulate data, where you can create a business object. I believe there's supposed to be a step in here for calling to an API. And I think that part hasn't been added to Cortex actions yet. So I apologize because that should be in there, but it's not. But it will get there eventually. We have a whole implementation for calling out to a predefined web service with different API methods that are imported from a Swagger doc and all those other things. Those will be there, I swear. They're not there right now, but they're going to be. So anyways, the difference between these two is when you're running a Cortex action, you can have many different steps. You can call out to other systems in advance before you create your Halo ticket. Maybe you can run other commands and, for instance, create child records if you need to, or iterate. Well, you can't iterate through things right now. Like I was about to say, iterate through items in a relationship. It's on the roadmap. It's not implemented yet. But theoretically, that's the idea, right? So you have 2 different options. One of them would be I need to do something more complex and I need multiple steps to get everything working. Another one is I just want to dump basically a CSV of data into the external system. And that's what this export data button is going to do. So for this, you have one configuration. You'll notice this doesn't prompt me to pick one of multiple items. There's just one configuration for the business object that I'm looking at. For instance, for incident, if I pick Halo and I pick incident and Halo, it's going to save and it's going to return or reload the same configuration every time I click that button, but I don't have to save it and name it, and I can't have multiple. So the other thing that we've got on this screen, which will eventually make its way to that action screen, but isn't there, is we've got different options for how we fill out the fields. So we have an option for a direct mapping from our target field. In this case, target fields are the ones in the Halo system. We can say this should map directly to a field within the source system, which in this case is Cherwell. This is the grid that we're looking at. We can fill out one of those fields and map directly to it. We can say, I want to fill out one specific value using either a text box, or if it's a lookup value where we have validated options, we can see the validated options in a drop down here. This should be showing a drop down list of teams. when we create Halo tickets using our email monitoring functionality for Cortex, we actually have the teams as a drop-down that's validated. And we also have it for category, but that hasn't been added to the screen yet. It most likely will be added by the time this feature actually gets released and deployed. But as of the time of this video, it's not. So you can make fun of me in the comments for that. The other options that we have here are using an expression. So there is a concept of expressions that's been added in Cortex. Like I mentioned earlier with the Cortex actions, we've actually, in the time since one of my previous videos, have added in logical expressions, for instance, for whether particular actions should run. So Cortex action steps have a condition section where you can give it a logical expression for whether it should do something. There's other types of expressions that are coming into Cortex as well. So right here, this says expression. If I click on this button, this is a text expression. Now, technically, there's more to this screen than what we get to see on this screen. Like this is forced to be a text expression. There's going to be other sections of Cortex where you have different types of expressions with different purposes. One of them that isn't built yet, but it's going to be coming after this release. It's not committed for this release, but that will eventually show up here. There's going to be a select case expression, and you'll be able to say, for example, category. Right now, you can hard code a category value. The idea in the future is going to be that you can use a select case expression and basically fill out a mapping from one value to another, because there's going to be some instances where you have values that have one lookup table in Cherwell, and you need to fill out values that are going to exist in another lookup table in another system. We don't have that yet, but we do have the ability to fill out a direct, like hard-coded value. So expressions, we can do text expressions. You can fill in tokens from fields from the current business object. If I click on one of these fields here, it's going to copy a token to my clipboard. It's going to use a field ID. You can also directly type in the field display name, and it should work in most cases. So you can see, like in this example that I've got here, you've got incident ID and you've got description and you've got a line break between the two, and we'll go through and create a series of tickets, see how those get evaluated when they get submitted to Halo. This is basically how we're filling this out. I've got templates for what I want to fill out in summary, details. I've got some hard-coded values for category, impact, urgency. Closure code I'm leaving empty because the ticket's not closed. And at the bottom here, you can either save this configuration and leave and go do something else, or you can click run. When I click run, you'll see there's a progress bar at the bottom of the screen, and it's going to go one by one through the records in the background here and go and create them in Halo. I go to Halo, we can see there's new tickets getting created. Here's our template for the summary. Um, Sadly, the version of Cherwell I've got, the demo database that I have, it doesn't have the short description field because Cherwell decided to get rid of the short description field. So I just put in Cherwell and then the ticket ID because I don't have an actual field to map to the summary field here in Halo. You can see that value is getting evaluated. Our description value is getting pasted in here, as well as the other content that I put in there for the description value. We've got our category, we've got our impact and urgency values, and that's basically it. So anyways, that is us exporting data from Cortex to Halo. So we've got all of our Halo tickets here. You see there's 81 of them here. Within Cherwell, we sent out 81, so they all got created. That's basically it. This should be coming out soon. I can't give an exact date, but if you watch our YouTube feed, you should see an announcement when this feature gets sent out. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them in the comment section below, or you can email us at, I think we've got an email inbox for support@synapsesoftware.com as well. I think we have a contact form on our website. I might be wrong about that. You probably know how to get in touch with us.